Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to make a video discussing optic mounts, more specifically the height of the mounts. Before we get started though, I thought I would share with you guys something I overheard the other day down at my indoor range. I went down, didn't have time to go to the outdoor range, so I went to a local indoor range, very nice place. And when I want to get in just a little short session or something, I'll run down there, it's very convenient. Well, I'm getting set up, ready to go, and in comes these couple of guys, and one gets right next to me in a bay, and he has like a 16-inch AR with like this god-awful muzzle brake on it, and so he puts his target out there, and this guy goes big with this thing, man. So I just back out of my bay, let him do this thing. You know, I got blood coming out of pretty much every orifice on the body, and he's just shooting, and bullets are hitting the ground. I see them going up and striking the AR 500 baffles in the ceiling. I mean, it's a circus. So thank God he did not shoot very long. So then he breaks out his pistol. I think it was like a SIG 320 X5 Legion. And so I go ahead and step back up in my bay, so I can continue my work. And so he puts his target there about 3 yards and he shoots it for a little bit. And then I overhear his buddy come over there talking to him, and his buddy's like, "Hey man, all your shots are going low left." And he's like, yeah, I noticed that. He's like, I was thinking what caused that was I put about 1,000 rounds on this gun, and it's pretty dirty. And then his buddy said, yeah, when they get dirty, it would really affect the accuracy of them. And then he said, the buddy asked him, he said, "Do you have a bore snake at home?" And he's like, "Yeah, I sure do." He said, "Here's what you need to do. When you get home, take that bore snake and you run it through the barrel one time for every round you fired." So I had to share that. Maybe we'll make this a thing. Like more often than not, when I go to the indoor range and there's like more than me there shooting, I mean, you definitely hear some things that, I guess are worth sharing. Get a good laugh out of it. So anyway, on to the subject at hand. We're talking about optic mounts for the AR platform and the heights of them, okay? Here, the last several years, there's been a big trend to go to like, to these taller mounts, to like these absurdly tall mounts. And I understand, the use case for them. I believe it's a very, very specific one. But what you get to reading, when you read comments, when you read stuff on the internet, right? You can read a lot on there. I think there's kind of like a misunderstanding, and I don't think it's people's fault. I think it's, to my opinion, I think it's marketed that way, right? So let's talk about the mount I'm talking about specifically is the GBRS Group Hydra mount. Okay, this mount has a 2.91 height over pick rail, right? So that's going to put you over 4 inches to center of bore. Now, am I saying that you can't overcome these things? Yes, if you understand ballistically what's going on with the gun and you understand your holdovers, yeah, you can definitely make it work. But here's the point I want to make. I'm not telling anybody not to buy this stuff. I'm not telling you what to buy. But be informed when you buy it, and make sure that you're getting gear that's going to facilitate the needs you need, right? Not just going after something that looks cool or whatever. First of all, what are you quantifying your preference off of? That's a lot of what I read. People are saying, well, that's just my preference. Okay, well, where are you developing your preference from? Is it from results? Is it data-driven preference, right? For me, for a rifle, my goal is to be able to shoot this aggressively at rifle distances and get good accuracy at the same time. So, I want to balance the speed and accuracy, and I want to be able to do it at rifle distances. Meaning if you're shooting your rifle always within like pistol distances, say 25 yards and in, you can get away with a lot and still get what some people would consider, a good result or whatever. But if you will take your gun and back up to rifle distances, say get up 40, 50, 60, 70, even 100 yards, and start shooting this aggressively, and then look at impacts on target, be very aware of how the gun's behaving, and now that'll give you some true data that you can build your preference off of. And so what we're going to discuss today is my preference, and it's definitely been developed off of, of many years exploring different things with this weapon system. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the 3 points that are pushed for what makes, these taller mounts, better for use or what have you, a better item to use rather than an absolute co-witness, a 1/3 co-witness, up to, like, I will use up to a 193, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. There is a reason for that, and we'll discuss that. But the number one reason is so you have, shoot it with a more heads up, in a more heads up position. I agree 100%, right? When you start really rolling your head down, there's a couple of things that happens. Number one, when you force your eyes up in the top part of the ocular of your eye, it starts to stress your eyes. It's a lot better when we just look through our eyeballs like we normally do. Number two, what it does, because of the design of our head, right, we have bone around our eye sockets. We have the eyebrow, which protrudes the most. All the way around the eye, we have bone protecting our eyeballs because they're very sensitive and very important. So when you start to roll your head down, you lose visual acuity, which means you lose peripheral, what you're able to see. And shooting is 100% a visual endeavor. So the more we can see, the better it is for us as shooters. We have to be able to see, to process. We have to be able to process to shoot. So when I'm rolling my head down low, okay, I'm putting the bone up in front of my eyes, and now I'm blocking what I can actually see. And a little simple test you can do is just stand straight up, put your hands out by your side, and wiggle your fingers, okay? Focus on a spot on the wall or whatever, like you're focusing on a target, but with your peripheral, you most definitely notice them fingers wiggling, and then move your hands back until you can no longer notice your hands or your fingers moving, right? Okay, well, I'm as far as I can go, and I can still detect my fingers wiggling. So I have a, a big, I can see more than 160 degrees around me, just looking straight ahead. Okay, as far as above my eyes, put your hand above your head and start to raise it as you wiggle your fingers, and then get it as high. I can see, okay, right there is about where I lose it. I can see it there, okay? Now, roll your head down, do the same test, and you notice you lose your hand about right here. So there's a lot you're not seeing when you cram your head down, number one. Number two, you're straining your eyes. So a heads up shooting position, I'm down with that stuff. That's good stuff in my book. But what I'm gonna say, we're gonna go ahead and scratch that one off the list, because I do not need, a 2.91 height mount to be able to shoot in a heads up position. I mean, people have been thinking about this stuff. There's nothing totally new under the sun. People have been thinking about how to shoot these with a harmonious balance of speed and accuracy for a long time. And shooting with the heads up position is, for very long in my world has been important and been something that has, been pushed, right? Something that's been taught. And so I'm saying that there's nothing new with that. And we accomplish that simply by how we mount the gun. We, just like with the pistol, we present the optic, to our aiming eye. Okay, we don't pull our head down. We present the optic to our eye, which the same thing with the rifle. Okay, everything's been cleared and safed here. Okay, when I mount the gun, I actually present the optic to my eye just like I do with the pistol. Right, and I'm doing that, and you notice that the stock is. I have the stock fully encased in my body here. I don't put the toe of the stock into the body, right? I want the stock fully embedded in my body, right? I want to be able to support the gun, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So from there, I'm simply just with my shoulder, I'm raising the stock to my face, right? I'm raising the stock to my face. As simple as that. I'm shooting with in a more heads-up posture, and I don't need an absurdly tall mount to be able to do so. Okay, real quick, this is not a video on the mount, mounting the rifle, but we'll talk about it real quick. Let's talk about the 3 principles of a good mount. Number one, we want it to be consistent. So we're looking for consistency. If you notice anything in shooting, consistency is always a part of it. Number two, we want to be able to gain good stability from it. That's where this really comes in. Having a good cheek weld on the gun, in my experience, if you can do it with a chin weld, man, go with God, good on you. I have not been able to get the gun to behave in the way I want it to behave consistently with a chin weld, okay? Because you look at a chin weld, what you have is a hard surface, and then your stock is a hard surface. So you have two hard surfaces rolling against each other. There's no way I've found to be able to get that consistent. But if you take the cheek, the meaty part of the cheek, and then you press the stock up into your face, right? The meat of the cheek then encases over the stock, and it actually traps it. So you have a very good consistent point of contact with the gun. The other 3 points of contact is, of course, the stock into the body, which is important to have it, in my opinion, to have the stock down into the body. Don't have just the toe of the stock. Reciprocating mass comes right through your lower receiver extension. So if you put just the toe of the stock into the body, it'd be the same thing as grabbing the pistol low on the pistol grip, right? We want to get as high on the pistol grip as we can for that same reason. So I want this into my body. With the good cheek weld, now I'm trapping the rifle there, so it cannot move in the rear. Okay, and then with my support hand and my primary hand, then now they do their job, and we're looking to put consistent pressures into the gun throughout the shooting process. So number one is consistency. Number two, we're looking to gain stability. And number three, we want it to be durable, which means whether I shoot 1 shot or 30 shots, I want to be able to maintain that mount throughout, all my shooting, throughout the whole time I'm shooting. I want to be able to maintain that mount. Okay, on from that, number one was a heads-up shooting position. Okay, in my opinion, we've already crossed that one off the list, right? That's all in how you mount the gun. And again, this is all my opinion, right? I'm not forcing anyone or telling anyone what to believe or what to buy. I want this to be food for thought for for folks that may be in the market for their stuff. So for you to go out and do your own research, do your own due diligence, and just before you spend your money, make sure you're spending it on stuff that's going to benefit you and your shooting habits and your use case, right? We'll talk about this real quick. Number two is if we're shooting passively with our night vision through our optic, right? Which means I'm looking through my tube on my night vision, looking through my optic, and I'm superimposing the dot on the target, and I'm shooting, and that's the method that I'm using to aim my weapon. So, and this has kind of become a thing. The number one method to aim with night vision has been for a long time using a laser aiming module, whether you have an illuminator and a laser or just a laser. That's been like the method that people have used, but now passive aiming has become a thing. And I'm not saying it's not something we don't need to explore. I think it's a hard skill you need to develop if you have the gear, and you train. Definitely you need to explore those things and understand it. But realistically speaking, okay, on a flat range, now this is all going to be dependent on lighting conditions. Remember that. So on a flat range, under the assistance of night vision, there's white steel targets. And I know I'm going to shoot those steel targets because that's what they're intended for. It's extremely easy for me to superimpose this dot while looking through my night vision and get hits on those targets. It's very easy to do so. But here's where, my opinion, trouble comes into paradise on it. In the real world on this, we have to be able to identify 100% that someone is a threat before we just smoke check them. We just can't shoot someone because we're able to superimpose a dot on them. Okay, and in order to identify it 100%, we have to be able to see a lot of details. Meaning, we need to be able to see the hands. We need to be able to articulate that they were a deadly threat to us or someone else, right? Not getting in to the law on use of force, but anyway, you need to look into that yourself. But we need to be able to identify, 100% identify. So we need to be able to see details. So a lot of times, again, depending on the lighting conditions, I may have to use the aid, even if I'm shooting passively. And the reason passive aiming has become popular is because so many people now possess night vision. So the argument is, well, if other people have night vision, as soon as you activate your laser and your illuminator, everybody's going to see where you're at. I agree 100%. That is a fact. Okay, but if I'm passively aiming and I've got to identify the target and I do not have enough ambient light to do so with just the night vision, I'm going to have to introduce some sort of light source to aid me in identifying. Well, as soon as I turn that IR light on, now I just could have used my laser, right? And the same argument goes for, well, if I'm shooting with the white light without the use of night vision, are we going to get rid of our flashlights too? Because most definitely, anybody that can see, if I turn on white light, they're going to be able to see my white light, and it's definitely going to show them where I'm at. And that all goes into my light comes on when I need it, it goes off when I don't need it, and I'm not going to be standing there, right? So some things to think about. I'm talking about for real world application here. Sometimes a range mentality of stuff gets in here, and it's easy to make points that sound, like good points. But when you break it down and do some critical thinking about it, I mean, man, it's half a dozen of the others. To me, using a laser and illuminator is a preferred method if you're going to aim with night vision. Now, I'm not saying that passive aiming is not a thing. Again, I'm not saying we do not need to know how to do it. We most definitely do. But just like the information I just gave, a lot of times in order for us to get 100% identification, we're going to have to introduce an IR light source anyway to give us enough information, so that we are justified in using deadly force. So again, just something to think about. And the third thing, okay, is shooting with a gas mask on. Right? Using a gas mask. I don't have my canister in here. I'm not going to open a new one to put in here. But shooting with a gas mask. Shooting with a gas mask is something, people have been doing for a long time. We used to have to shoot with a gas mask on with iron sights, and we got the job done. Now, I'm not going to deny that taller mounts definitely make these tasks easier. Shooting with a gas mask and shooting, passive aiming with your night vision through your optic definitely makes them easier. But 100%, you can get the job done without them. Okay, and again, that just goes into you putting in the work to figure out how to mount the gun to make that happen. So, I'm not saying that these mounts are absolutely useless. What I'm saying is, you as a user, what is your use case? Okay, let's put it into like percentage. So, how much out of 100% are you going to be shooting with a gas mask on, and are you going to be using passive aiming? Okay, so let's say that's you say, well, I'll be doing it 3%, Tony. I'm like, okay. So what you're telling me is you're setting up a gun for what you're going to be shooting 3% of the time that's going to hinder me 97% of the time. Now, see, that math doesn't add up to me. So, and if it does to you, that's fine. I'm just, something to think about, right? It's just something to think about. And before I get, all right, I believe we have touched on the main points that are marketed for these optics. And again, I am not saying that they do not have their place, but I do believe it is a very specific role. For the majority of the people, when I'm talking about, civilians, and when I say civilians, I just mean people that are not duty bound, that are setting their rifles up to be more of a general purpose rifle. I think these are things that need to be considered. Okay, now let's talk about a few of my setups and why I use what I do. Okay, these are 4 of my training rifles. I have 2 12.5 inch and 2 14.5 inch, and they're set up in a very similar manner. Okay, the first one here is I have an aim point with a 1/3 co-witness mount and an offset Delta Point Pro on an Arasaka mount set at 35 degrees. It also has a MAW laser and a mod light. I use the 1/3 co-witness because me personally, that is my favorite height. Now, my other 12.5 inch gun, it has a 193 height mount on it. The reason for that is actually the reason the 193 height was developed in the beginning. I have a D-ball A2 on here, and when you have a 1/3 co-witness or absolute co-witness, it actually, you're able to see your laser, and it's not crucial because your dot is still above that, and we focus on the target, and as long as we can superimpose the dot on the target, we get our hits. But to me, this is a personal preference thing. When I see that laser in there, it is distracting to me. So I like to raise my optic up above that just so it's not in my vision. Well, 100% what I do believe in doing when I raise the mount up, I also believe in raising the face up with it. I like to be able to get the same cheek weld on every platform. So I'm able to do that. I'm raising this up by about 1/2 inch. So the brace here, it is actually a little bit lower than a regular stock. So on this, I go with the 1/2 inch riser. On some stocks, I'll go with the 1/4 inch riser. But on this one, it is a 1/2 inch riser, and that gives me the exact same cheek weld I get on the one with the 1/3 co-witness. Okay. Set those down. And again, everything has been cleared and saved. Both of my 14.5 inch guns, they are set up with LPVOs and red dots on Arasaka offset mount set at 35 degrees. Now this one here, you will notice it has a 154 ScalarWorks mount, and it has a Swarovski 1:6 scope. As far as a magnified optic, I like the 154. I mean, again, that's my personal preference. That gives me the good consistent cheek weld that I'm looking for. And when you're using a magnified optic, it's even more crucial to get that good cheek weld, because especially in like a 1:6, there's no parallax adjustment on this, and that is definitely a thing. And having your eye centered up on that on the optic is crucial, right? So 154 height LPVO with an offset red dot. And the final is another 14.5 inch. Now on this one, I have a 193 ScalarWorks with the offset red dot, again on the Arasaka mount set at 35 degrees. The reason this one is a 193 is because originally I had a D-ball A2 on this. A couple of my older units, I have gotten rid of them, and it's going to be replaced. What I was talking about earlier on having a laser aiming module on the top of your pick rail and your optic looking through it, it is even it's even more obvious when you're looking through an LPVO on 1 power. Now when you crank up the magnification, it's not a thing. But actually the 193 mount was originally developed to be able to clear, the PEC 2s and the PEC 15s. That's back in about 2008-ish, I guess it was. I started exploring using LPVOs. Before then, as far as to my knowledge, you had Schmidt and Bender came out with a short dot. It was not a true 1X on that optic. And then Leopold had some offerings that all were not true 1X offerings, and I did not care for those. Because the reason I use a 1 to anything is because I like to have a good 1X. If it does not have a good 1X, it alleviates the purpose of why I'm using it. If that's the case, if I'm not going to use the 1X, I would put a more capable scope on there, maybe a 2 to 10 or something such as that, and then just use an offset, the remainder of the time for targets that required that. But on LPVOs, I most definitely want a good 1X on it with a bright reticle. So that's the reason on this one. And if you notice, I raise the cheek up to match the height as well. This is a 1/2 inch riser. If you're looking for some good risers, shout out to Sun and Shadow. They make some phenomenal products. All right. Folks, I believe that's all I have as far as the optic mounts. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And I would like to go ahead, I would like to say this as well. If you're going to have this stuff, if you just want to collect it, hey, that's fine. But if your goal is to, to be effective with your tools, train with them. I mean, it's absolutely crucial that we train, and not only train, but we train correctly. Because here's the deal: if perfect practice makes perfect, and I believe it does, and then our search for perfection as humans is never ending. And the reason that's so is because we're imperfect creatures. We working with imperfect tools, and we live in an imperfect world. So we're always striving, for better, right? We're always for faster and more accurate. That's what we're looking for. So if you, there's a lot of good information out there. The flip side of that coin is there's also a lot of not so good information out there. So when we're ignorant to something, and ignorant is not a bad word, we're all ignorant to something, some things can really make sense and sound good to us. When we put it together synergistically, it doesn't make sense, right? It starts to affect things down here, just like the taller optic mounts. Yes, they make sense in some arenas, right? When you talk about heads-up shooting position and not knowing how to properly mount the gun, shooting with a gas mask on, shooting passively, yes, they make sense. But in my opinion, I'm not going to give up my cheek weld to gain those things, because the cheek weld is a big part of the mount, and that's what allows me to shoot my tools effectively. So I'd like to take this time. There is some gentleman that I believe is the revolutionizing the training space, and I'm thankful for it. It's about time that there's some new stuff is coming in, and so if you're interested in this, take a look at the gentleman at PSTG. That is Ben Stager, Joel Park, and Mr. Kim. Also take a look at Nick Young with the Velox Training Group. Of course, Matt Pranka at X-Ray Alpha, Mark Smith at JBS Training, and Billy Barton at Spec Train. I don't think you can go wrong listening to any of those gentlemen. They all put a lot of thought to this stuff and a lot of experience there. So I would recommend, if it's in your budget and you're capable, I would go out to some classes with these gentlemen. Now, they put all like Ben and Matt, these guys, and Joel, they put all their information out here for free, right? You can go watch, they put whole courses on YouTube. So you can go listen to the information, and I would recommend buying the dry fire books. Because just because we dry fire does not mean we're doing it correctly. What's crucial is that we dry fire correctly, and then we go to the range and we verify that our dry fire is correct. That's what we're doing. So absolutely dry firing, if we do it wrong, that's where training scars are caused. There's people say, what's a training scar? It's from doing the wrong thing, and then we imprint that. So we don't want to develop bad habits. We want to develop good habits right off the cuff. So buying those books, listening to these gentlemen's courses, and most definitely, like I say, your money will be well spent if you will reach out and go to one of these classes. Not only will you enjoy it, you will get so much from it, and you'll probably meet some like-minded individuals, and that's always a good thing as well. So folks, that's all I have today. Please, if you agree, disagree, that's fine. We can always agree to disagree. Reach out to me in the comment section if you think I'm wrong about this. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'll get back with you. You folks have a good night.